Here he is from New York, that Kevin McCullough.
All right, Kevin McCullough, there are many aspects and strategies to how we begin to fix the problems that our nation faces. And in recent years, obviously, the problems have multiplied and the solutions seem to be more elusive. I want to know what my next guest thinks. He's the CEO of the KLR Group, and he's the founder and chief of that partnership. He co-founded them in the spring of 2012. Edward Kovalik is his name. Edward, welcome. It's good to have you.
Thanks for having me, Kevin.
My listeners care about their pocketbooks, obviously, and when we're paying $3, $4, $5 a gallon on the East Coast, I just returned from my West Coast trip, seeing family and attending a wedding out there. It was $6, $7, $8 a gallon in the Pismo Beach, California area. When they're getting hit on that level without the comparable rise in salary as they've had for the last 3 years, there's a domestic pinch that the energy shortage makes us feel. But I contend that this impacts a much wider swath of American life, including our security and including our ability to make bad guys be good in other parts of the country. And I'm curious, as you are the founder and managing partner of this group and someone who's heavily invested in gas and oil, what are your thoughts?
I think that politicians have really had a bipolar relationship with oil for a long time. Before we really experienced modern day inflation at the kind of levels that we're experiencing today. If you recall, the White House was really pushing a higher oil price agenda as really a method to create demand destruction in line with their goal to electrify everything, beginning with automobiles. And so, that was, I think, the original strategy.
And it was on day one. I mean, he destroyed Keystone the second that he got there and said, okay, we're done with that. And that was
exactly
the writing on the wall.
And so we could have a whole argument about whether or not any kind of policy can really destruct demand. I'm of the belief that it can't. But as soon as inflation began taking its toll and it became clear that high oil prices were bad for re-election campaigns, I think, that's when you started to see the draining of the SPR, which tried to take oil prices in the other direction, obviously cozying up to Venezuela, cozying up to Iran, was also an effort to accomplish the same. And so I think today, policymakers...
Well, and it got shut down by the Saudis. So the Saudis didn't help, and he had to turn to these, more bad actors that don't have our interest at heart for sure. And he's running out of options. Like there's not enough for us to buy everywhere else. So again, the lens comes back, and this is not partisan. I'm not talking about a partisan situation here. I'm talking about what's common sense. The lens comes back to, we're sitting in North America on the biggest shelf of energy, particularly liquid natural gas and deeper oil reserves than we've ever realized before. What do we got to do to make that energy work for us?
Yeah, that's absolutely true. We are blessed with one of the world's greatest, most prolific reserves of oil and gas. And that's frankly why we've started another company called Prairie Operating Company now to exploit that. I think the industry has gone through a lot of troubles over the years historically because of a lot of leverage and volatility. Those two things don't really go great together. And so the industry has become a lot more disciplined and isn't really focused on growth so much as stabilized production. But the truth is that our break-even prices for making oil and gas in this country are very low. Now we can make money at pretty stable oil prices. We don't need $100 oil price to make money. We don't need $120 oil prices to make money. So I think that there's clearly a concerted vision towards increasing production now. It's becoming more cachet. You're starting to see the big corporate consolidations. Obviously, Exxon and Chevron are leading the way with huge deals back to back, week to week. So, I think something is afoot. The game is afoot, as they say. And I think to your point, you'll start to see more of a ramp in production in the U.S. than many probably have anticipated.
I hope so. One of the things that the last administration was doing was actually exporting some of our fresh, production of energy. We were actually selling liquid natural gas to Europe and places around the globe and benefiting the American. And I guess it's the difference between energy independence, which a lot of people talked about like in the 80s with Reagan, versus energy dominance, where we can really control our own fate if we keep that oil, price per barrel like under $40 a barrel. A lot of good things happen for us at that point. Let me shift away from the big picture and narrow down on you for a little bit. You mentioned Prairie. What's your background? What's Prairie all about? And why did you formulate it?
Sure. So I come from a investment banking finance background and also private equity in energy. And, we formed Prairie this year really because we saw an untapped market opportunity to consolidate down market from where you're seeing these big deals print. And when I say down market, I mean way down market. So, we're looking at deals that are, in the $100 million range, $50 million range. We think that there's really a lack of a bid in the market for great assets, largely because this industry has been so demonized over the years, driven by ESG, driven by other factors, that the capital has left the building. Private equity capital has drawn down, 60% from where it was 5 years ago in terms of available capital. The public investing community has pulled away from the industry pretty astonishingly, even though E&Ps have outperformed the broader market in the last several years, really in a post-pandemic recovery phase. We're still, as a peer group, trading at a historically low multiple. So there's still a lot of upside and opportunity to acquire, build, and develop assets. And that's what Prairie is focused on doing.
Is that true, even though the administration has put a chokehold on leases and, the availability of at least public lands to take a look at some of this stuff?
I think there's enough inventory on private fee lands to really take advantage of the market opportunity. I certainly think if the feds would apply a more commercial policy to federal land across the U.S., the continental U.S., I think you'd see more growth in the industry for sure.
Well, then the question comes from the naysayers at that point. Can you do it cleanly? What's your answer, Ed?
Well, I would really vouch that we can create the cleanest barrel of oil in this country as compared to anywhere else in the country. And if we all live on one planet, which I don't think anyone's arguing at this point, then I think we all share one climate. And I think it's in everyone's best interest to produce each incremental barrel of oil made as cleanly as possible.
You could not have earned a bigger fan in me by saying that exactly the way you said it. He's Eddie Kovalik, head of the KLR Group and Prairie Energy. We're going to talk more with him just a minute after this break. Come right back.
Christmas time, here we go. That Cannon Show.